So ideally, the first step would be to come along to one of my live seminars. I hold them at least once a month in Melbourne and Brisbane. I do have my seminar content available online for people that can't make it to a live event. So that's ideally the first step. Anyone that comes to a live seminar or accesses my online material can get a copy of my book. It's called Catching the Mind Robber, and in this I elaborate on the research that is outlined in the lecture series, just in a bit more detail. And what I'm focusing on there is the links between untreated hearing loss and cognitive decline, and also giving some more background as to what to expect in the hearing evaluation process. So coming to a seminar, receiving a copy of my book, ideally ahead of coming to a physical appointment with me, we like to do a quick online assessment, and then either a Zoom call or a phone call ahead of the initial in-person appointment, just to get a little bit more background, answer any burning questions that there may be, and give an indication of how long things will take and how to find the clinic and those kind of things. At the initial in-person assessment, we'll have a form where we've got a number of questions just to get a better understanding of your hearing profile. Ideally, at that initial assessment, we find that the process works best if you bring someone that's close to you along. It really does help to have a familiar voice with the assessment. Part of the process may be a device demonstration. My voice can be helpful for that, but it's so much better when it's a more familiar voice, right? I try to keep things relatively simple and straightforward, but there is often quite a lot to take in, so it really does help to have someone else there just to help grasp the information that we're covering. So we ask a number of questions when you first come in for, we call it a hearing device evaluation. Then I'll get a better understanding of how a hearing loss might be impacting on your lifestyle and those around you, perhaps getting a bit of a gauge as to what may have held you back and what might be a primary concern. Should treatment be recommended? I've got quite a clear criteria as to when we consider the hearing loss ripe enough for treatment. So I talk you through what that is, and primarily we're looking at how a hearing loss might be impacting on the day-to-day speech spectrum. Generally speaking, when we're missing out on 25% or more of the day-to-day speech spectrum, that tends to be a good time to get on and treat it, right? We get our best results when we catch it relatively early. So once we're at that 25% point, really great time to get on, and we tend to get our best results that way. So I spell out just what that criteria is. Then we go through a process called pure tone audiometry, where I'm finding the softest sounds that you can hear at a range of pitches, and we're focusing on this speech spectrum. So primarily, how might that loss of hearing be affecting the way in which you perceive speech? Beyond that, there's other diagnostic tools that we may use to get a clearer understanding as to exactly where in the hearing system an issue is occurring, and then have you repeat back some words, which will give us an understanding as to which parts of words may you be missing, which parts are you getting through clearly, and then map that out so you get a very clear picture as to what your hearing status is. And based on those results, I'm able to recommend whether treatment is suitable. It may be that the hearing loss isn't quite ripe enough for treatment, and then give a time frame as to when a reassessment will be appropriate, and we schedule that in. Should treatment be advisable, I'll give a recommendation of what's likely to give the best outcome. Sometimes there's a choice in the matter in terms of how the device, the physical structure of the device, and the main decision though is which technology level we go for, which will typically determine what the price of the solution will be. As a general statement, the more advanced the technology, the better it's going to work in background noise and group situations. So we work through the pros and cons of the different treatment options. Once we decide on a solution, often we can actually get on and fit the devices then and there. All right? I do hold a fair range of devices in the clinic, and I generally will leave sufficient time to get on and start treatment straight away. Fortunately, today's technology allows us to do that relatively quickly and easily. Sometimes we need to go for a custom solution. Sometimes there's a niche solution that we need to order in. Usually we can do that quite quickly, and then schedule a fitting appointment.